Hey everyone, first of all, I do apologize if you hear any boom sounds. Those are going to be like notifications through email, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, text messaging, you name it, because I'm recording this on my phone. I also apologize if you hear a big boom. That's going to be a notification from my bank telling me that something didn't go through because of lack of funds. But with that said, let's get on to the topic of this video. So it's been 5 months, but we are back with the 144th edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. And I might be cheating on this a little bit, but since she was included, in the mobile game for Sonic Forces Speed Battle, as well as many fans have been creating for the past several years, animations, animations of her and Kit, SFM animations or even NFSW animations, if you know what I mean, of her and Kit or her and other characters. I guess basically technically, since those are animations, it qualifies her for this category. But who is Surge, you might ask? Who is Surge the Tenrec? Well, Surge is an interesting character because from what we can understand about her character, she used to be her own individual. She used to live a different life, independent from anything we've seen her in so far. But one fateful day, apparently, she and Kit, together or individually, were kidnapped by the villainous Dr. Starline and basically, I guess you could say, rebuilt, manipulated, whatever the case might be, but basically turned into clones, female and male clone, of Sonic and Tails. Kit, the clone of Tails, Surge, the clone of Sonic. And this is an interesting situation this was an interesting situation, I should say, because originally she and Kit were programmed to basically, because they had no idea, they had the past lives wiped away from them. They had the past identities wiped away from them, stolen from them by Starline. So now they didn't. So now, then I should say, not now. Get into the moment. So then they had no clue as to who they really were, except what their mission was, except what they were ordered to do by Starline, and that was to destroy Sonic and Kit. But why? Well, it's real simple. Starline wanted to prove that he was on the same level equally as Dr. Eggman, his former mentor. Now, with that said, after the truth pretty much got revealed about Starline and how he truly felt about Surge and Kit, and their health and their well-being, they decided to ditch the guy after he was pretty much killed off, or so we think, and they decided to go off and do their own thing. But because of that programming he put into their minds, Surge still had the goal to want to beat Sonic. Basically beat Sonic and prove her superiority. But over time, her character has really developed into wanting to not only beat Sonic, because that's still that program that's stuck in her mind. She wants to beat him, but she wants to now do it not maliciously, but almost in a very honorable, fair and square manner. Like she wants to prove on equal footing that she's more than a match for Sonic. And eventually we're probably going to get there sooner rather than later. But to get to, why she wants to do that, it's basically because as she started to get on her own along with Kit, they came into Restoration HQ and were befriended by Amy. That's right. Amy Rose befriended Surge because Amy in IDW basically sees the good in a lot of individuals like herself. And obviously she does see some good in Surge. And we're going to see if that gets tested. We're going to see, I should say, how well that is tested in the next issue when she, Tails, and Blaze encounter Surge and Kit on the rendezvous to check out and see if all the expanded areas for Restoration HQ, like the local bases, are still intact or still, workable. Now, What's interesting about the Surge situation, though, with her character, is not only does she want to fight Sonic now in a more honorable manner to prove her superiority, but now you're starting to see more of a story subplot, if you will, develop with her and Kit, but more so her, in my opinion, of wanting to know what their past lives were like. Because what they did in the previous arc we had, where Clutch was the main villain, she and Kit made a deal with Clutch because Clutch said, hey, you work with me, I'll tell you all about who you were in the past. And the truth is, he never had any intention to because he didn't even know. He just made that up to get them to work for him, and they weren't happy about it. So what's interesting about that scenario, though, is during that moment, Surge and Kid had an opportunity, unexpectedly given to them when they became heroes. And one little girl looked up to, Surge and thanked her and also admired how cool she was. And Surge liked it. She appreciated it. She had this big smile on her face like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like it. I like this. So to me, what we're seeing now is not only does she want to have, her identity, she wants to know what her past life was like, because we know that's a subplot that they got to focus on. But also she wants to basically know what it's like to be a hero. She wants to become, loved for doing the right thing, for being heroic. And although at first she went about it the wrong way, we can kind of see, possibly where that direction is heading, for her in the future when it, comes to her trying to be a hero. Although she's got to keep an eye out on her friend Kit, or her companion Kit, because maybe in a way she's not going to like, when it's all revealed, she's not going to like what he's been up to, or he's going to be up to basically make her into a hero, because the way it feels, basically, based on recent issues and annuals, it feels like Surge wants to be a hero, but she wants to do it in the right way. She wants to do it in the natural way. Whether people will appreciate it or not, she wants to do it the way to where it's kind of justified. And, in a sense, they will basically thank her, for being there for them, or something to that extent. But again, the subplot, beneath that, the subplot that goes along with it is she's doing this because obviously she also wants to know who she really was. Because one thing that Mega Beatman brought up during the review, I think it was Mega Beatman, brought up, is that basically there seems to be signs, like little hints, moments, little clarifications of who Surge was in the past, starting to seep through her, and basically that's what's encouraging her to want to be a hero and do the right thing, even though she's still got a long way, even though she still has a lot to learn about having to do the right thing and being a hero along the way. She still has a lot to learn. There is seemingly parts of her old self coming through. And even Mega Beatman, I think Mega Beatman is the one that said this, that maybe the Surge, in the past, before she became a clone, maybe the Surge of the past was actually a very helpful Tenrec. She was very kind, and helpful, and, maybe a little rough, but also gentle, had a heart of gold or something like that. And maybe that's what we're getting towards in the future. Maybe, I'm not totally sure. But it seems to me that that's what the storyline is heading for Surge. But again, going back to what I said at the beginning, here's why I kind of cheat with bringing her into this, because like I said, she was basically brought into the Sonic Forces Speed Battle video game in animation form. And other people have been animating her in SFM and even very NFSW animations throughout the years since her debut. Why? Because she's become a very popular and beloved character. They like the fact that she's pretty much somewhat the opposite of Sonic, but now they're starting to see that, hey, she's not just the opposite of Sonic, but maybe there's more to her than we know. Excuse me. Maybe there's more to her than what we know. And that more to her might just be the fact that, again, in a previous life, she used to be a lot kinder and gentler and all that. And eventually, I think that's what we're working towards in the future. We're working towards that in the future. But there's no denying that, the evolution of this character so far has been, just tremendous. It's been tremendous to see, because not only do you have someone now that originally wanted to just beat the living daylights out of Sonic, basically beat him to a pulp, to where he can't move anymore, to where now she wants to fight him. She still wants to fight him, but she wants to do it because she wants to prove on equal footing in an honorable way that she's better. To see that evolution and then eventually speculate to what she's going to be soon, it's just, to me, it's just great to see. And it's a good example of great character development for a character that debuted not that long ago. Or at least it feels like that. But overall, I would definitely say if you don't know much about Surge, and I'm just going off based on what I know, if you don't know much about her, I'd say look her up, check her out, read the comics that she's involved in. There is a graphic novel, a trade paperback graphic novel, that takes all the issues from the Imposter Syndrome miniseries, gathers it together. You can pretty much find out more about her there, as well as you can check out the recent annual that came out this year, where they have a story. It's one of the first stories in there that focuses on her wanting to be a hero, but she's going about it the wrong way. And obviously, you could tell that she does want to do things. She does want to be a hero, but she wants to do it in a way to where, okay, she understands people may not see that she's trying to help because they're so used to things being done a certain way, that over time, maybe she's going to have to learn herself that things are done differently when it comes to being a hero, and she still has a lot to learn. But overall, I'd say check out the annual from this year, check out Imposter Syndrome, even check out the recent arc that they did with Restoration HQ, and I guarantee you'll have a better understanding of who this character is, what she wants to be, and maybe who she probably was in the past and everything, and what she plans to hopefully be storyline-wise going forward. But anyway, though, guys, like I said, I know I may have cheated a little bit, but like I said, she was added into Sonic Forces Speed Battle as a playable character, kind of animation-wise. People have been doing SFM, if not NFSW animation on her as well. So I just thought I'd pretty much take that opportunity, since any kind of animation will qualify a character like that, and talk about her. I just thought I'd take this opportunity to talk about her. And really, guys, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Love to hear from each and every one of you. Like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Also, share the video if you would like. Also, check out the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. You can find me at all your favorite audio video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Audible from Amazon, Radio Public, Overcast. Anywhere there's a podcast, you will find mine there as well. I got to add to my podcast. I've been a little behind on it lately because of situations, but I will get back into that soon. So be on the lookout for new podcast editions there, new episodes added there. Also, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me and follow me at VENMO at BW Roses, Odyssey.com at BW Roses-5, Rumble.com at BW Roses. You can also find me at Patreon.com at BW Roses, where I have content up under the $3 and $5 tier. $1 tier does help help me out as a tip if you want to do that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me as well at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. You can also find me at DivanArt.com at BVW1979, InkBunny.net at BW Roses. You can also find me over at Twitch.tv and Kick.com. You can also, ladies and gentlemen, find me over at Twitter, aka X, at BW Roses, Blue Sky at BW Roses, and TikTok at BW Roses. Also support me over at Venmo and Cash App if you'd like. But guys, that's all I'm going to say for the 144th edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. Let me know what your thoughts are overall on Surge. And until then, I am out.